In this video, I'm going to share the 3 tricks that I usually do when I get put on the spot to perform. If somebody hands me a deck of cards, I had no time to set anything up. And they start with a very simple beginner and move to a little bit more advanced. But these 3 tricks in this specific sequence will blow them away. These are tricks that can be done with any deck of cards. There's no setup. So you can even take a borrowed deck and do the tricks. You're going to find 9 random cards. So I'm just dealing them right from the top of the deck, just for speed. But really, you could grab any 9 cards. I don't even know which cards they are. It doesn't really matter. You put them to 3 piles of 3 and ask the spectator to just select one of the 3 piles. Let's say they pick this pile, take the other 2 back, and now you're going to ask them to just look at the bottom card of this packet. Don't show anybody else though, just them, and they'll memorize it. Now for this demonstration, we'll just look at it together. It's a 9 of clubs. You wouldn't know that, of course. Now they'll put the packet back on top, and now they're the only person that knows the 9 of clubs. That's what they're thinking of. We don't know what card they have. Now we would tell them that we're going to use somebody else from the audience to help us find their card. We'll point to somebody else, and I'll say, name any card in the deck. Let's say they said 4 of hearts. I'd look back to the first card and say, did they get it? Now, of course, they didn't get it. Like 1 of 52 times, they will get it. But and that's incredible. You should stop the trick right there if they get it. But chances are they're not going to get it. So they said the 4 of hearts, and I'll say, no, obviously I didn't think he was going to guess your card. Now I'm going to use that card to find your card. So you said 4 of hearts, so we're going to spell 4 of hearts. F-O-U-R. Put the rest of the deck on top. Of, O-F. Put the rest on top. Hearts. H-E-A-R-T-S. We'll put the rest on top. Now the magic happens, so we'll spell magic, M-A-G-I-C, and this should be your card. Is it? Of course it is, and they're blown away. You found their card. Now you move right to the next trick. Do you want me to use the same card, or would you like to pick a different card? Let's say the spectator says, no, I want to use the same card. All right, great. I'm going to go like this. I want you to just say stop whenever you want. We go like this. He says stop right there. You place that card right back in the center of the deck. Take the rest of the cards, we place them on top. And we do a couple of cuts and a couple of different shuffles and mixes. We really just want to lose this card somewhere in the deck. We do something called the riffle shuffle, probably the most common shuffle you've ever seen. Cards get pretty mixed up. But then we're going to do something called the drunk shuffle, or if you're doing this for kids, you'd say the sloppy shuffle. What you're doing is mixing the cards up in a way that's really not good for the deck because they're kind of all mixed up, in that you have some cards now that are face up the right way. You've got some cards that are upside down the wrong way. You've got some cards that are even back to back. Somewhere in the deck, you're going to find back to back cards. I mean, this deck is a mess. But all you have to do is wave your hands over the top. And now every single card in this deck is faced back in the same direction. Every one, except for one and only one card. And of course, that card is the selected card. Now, at this point, you've done 2 incredible card tricks, and it's probably time to stop. But if they are pushing you to do one more trick, save this one for last, and you'll really blow them away. So you'll mix the cards up again. And you could have the spectator mix the cards, but I generally don't like to give my cards out in the middle of a performance to shuffle again by a spectator, because generally they don't shuffle as quickly as I can, or they're not as efficient, and they may drop the cards, and it kind of slows things down. So I've mixed the cards up. They trust that they're mixed. And now I'm going to look for a prediction card. So it's going to be in here somewhere. It's one specific card. No. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. This is going to be my prediction. Now, I'm going to show them, first of all, as I deal cards onto the table, that these cards really are in no specific order. They're kind of all mixed up. I'm going to ask them to just say stop anytime they want. So let's say they said stop right there. I'll flip these cards over. Now, I'm going to ask them, again, to make a choice. Which pile do you want to use? And as really as a free choice, I will use the one they say. So let's say they said this one. I said, all right, I'm going to flip over this top card. Whatever that card is, that's the one we're going to use. We flip it over. It happens to be an ace. So we're going to spell out ace here. A-C-E. Now, before I do anything else, I want to remind them, I selected a random card after shuffling the deck, and then I asked them to say stop as I was dealing the cards. It was completely up to them. And then of the 2 piles, they picked which pile we used. So this is as random as it could possibly be, and they happened to land on an ace, which is kind of cool. That was just luck, but it worked out. So if this happens to be an ace, I mean, that'd be really incredible. Well, I guess I got lucky on that one. I mean, it's not actually luck, though, because I did predict something earlier. I predicted that we would get the ace, and of course, we found 2 more aces. In fact, let's just finish it off with the 4th ace over here. Now I'm going to teach you how those 3 tricks work, and I'll explain the reason why I like this sequence of tricks. Now, if you perform professionally, or even semi-professionally, and you're looking to up your game or get higher paying gigs, or even get yourself on TV, I suggest that you check out the Magician's Accelerator. I have a link to it on my website, and while the course itself is not free, it's absolutely free to check it out, see if it's right for you. Now I'll teach how those 3 tricks are done, and I'll explain why I like them in this exact sequence. So I always start with that first trick with the 9 cards because it is almost completely self-working, so it's really hard to mess it up. And generally what happens is if somebody just hands you a deck of cards and asks you to perform, you might be a little bit nervous or you're not comfortable with the setting yet. It's a great way to kind of warm your hands up and do a trick that you're not going to mess up. And that way, when you get to the second trick where you are doing a little bit of a move, you'll feel comfortable and your hands are ready. So with this trick, it's any random 9 cards. Doesn't matter which 9 cards, and it doesn't matter which pile they pick. All that matters is whichever one they pick, that's going to go on top of the other 2. So let's say they pick the middle one this time. You grab these 2 back. And by the way, while they're looking at that card, you can even shuffle this batch. It doesn't matter because this batch is not being used, right? It's just a number of cards. And then you're going to look at the bottom of this card, or they're going to look at it. It's the 7 of clubs. So look where it is. It's the third from the top. I'm going to turn it face up just so you can keep track of where it is, right? So 7 of clubs. And now I'm going to say to somebody else in the audience, give us a card. Let's say they said 3 of diamonds, right? So it doesn't matter what card they say. You could spell any card in the deck, and this trick will work. It's just because of the math of having 9 cards and spelling the card. But I think I said 9 of diamonds, so we'll spell 9 of diamonds. So N-I-N-E. Now you place the rest of the pack on top. And you have to place it on top every time or else it won't work, right? Of, O-F, place the rest on top. And diamonds, D-I-A-M-O-N-D-S, place the rest on top. And then you have to spell any 5-letter word. I spell magic, but you could spell their name or anything with 5 letters in it. So M-A-G-I-C. And you stop on that card, and it's always going to be their card when you get to the C in magic. Try it a few times, you'll see it just works. Now the next trick I think is a lot more impressive, but I usually ask them if they want to use the same card or pick a different card for that one, just so I can kind of bridge the 2 tricks together. Like, I found a card, and I'll use the same card for the next trick. But if they want to pick a different one, it doesn't matter, right? So they pick a card. And we're going to do what's known as the drunk shuffle or the sloppy shuffle. And as you go like this, you can say stop at any time. It doesn't matter where they stop because you're going to place a pinky break there. So they put their card on top, and as you cover it with these cards, you're going to put your pinky there. So you're just covering that spot just like this. So now, as you cut, you're just going to keep cutting cards until you get to your pinky break. And when you get to your pinky break, you put the rest of the cards on top, which is putting their card right there on top of the deck. Now, I'll do a shuffle where I pull the top card to the bottom, which is their card, and then I just throw a bunch of cards on top. And then I'll do a riffle shuffle, again, keeping their card on the bottom, so I make sure that side falls first. So now I've done all those things to get their card to the bottom of the deck, so that I can do the sloppy shuffle or the drunk shuffle. Now the first thing I'm going to do is bend the cards back a little bit this way. It's just going to help me find the break later. You'll see what I mean. And now you're going to pull cards off the top of the deck, just a handful of cards, push them over to your other hand, and you're going to flip this whole packet over, but stay on top of the deck. And you'll push now some cards underneath that packet, and you'll flip this entire thing back over, staying on top of the deck. And then back, and you keep doing this. As long as you're taking this whole packet, you're keeping it on top of the deck, all you're really doing is splitting this into 2 halves of half up and half down. But it looks a lot more confusing as you do the trick than as you're doing it quickly. So you're back. And then when you get to that last card, the very last, so you keep going here. Now we get to this last one where this should go here like this. But what I'm going to do is take the entire pack and put it underneath, putting that on top. So now what we've done is separated half face down, half face up, with the card they selected on top faced the wrong way. Now that might have been a bit confusing. You just watch that part back again, maybe watch it a couple times and you'll get it. But once you try it, you're going to see it's very simple to do this move and to make it look natural. So now you got that situation where if you cut deep into the deck, you're going to find face up cards. So I'll say some cards are face up the right way, and then I'll cut shallow into the deck. Some cards are upside down or the wrong way. And then I'm going to look for that break, which now you can see from the side, there's a little natural break because I bent the cards earlier. I'm going to look for that break, as I say, and some cards are back to back. Now here's the move that I use to make it look natural, because what I need to do is flip this over. Remember, this is the situation we're in with their card here. I want it to be this way with their card in the middle, and then the rest of the cards are fixed. So what I do is, as I pick this up and I show it, I say, and some cards are back to back. I lift it here, then I pass it over to this hand, and then I put it back down this way. So basically what I did is just flip it over. I just took it and flipped it over. But I did it in a way as while I'm talking, so it looks like this. And some cards are actually back to back. The deck is a real mess. And by doing that, I've just put that card in the middle the other way. Now, to end the trick, instead of just spreading out and showing that card, what I'll do is I'll say now all the cards are back to the same way. And as I'm saying that, I flip the whole packet over so that I'm showing the face-up cards instead of the face-down card. That way they see all these face-up cards and one face down, and that gives me a nice little reveal to show them their card. Now for this last trick, there's absolutely no setup, so again, you could let them shuffle, completely mixed up deck. And what you're going to do is find a prediction card, but what you're really doing is looking at the top card in the deck, and that's going to be your prediction for whatever kind. So in the performance, I got aces. That was just lucky. It doesn't always come out to aces. So in this case, we have a 9. So I would spell 9 in my head as I'm looking for cards. While I'm apparently just looking for one prediction card, I'm actually setting the rest of the deck up. So I'd say in my head N-I-N-E, and I just toss these 4 down. That spells 9 from the bottom. So N-I-N-E. Now look for the next 9 as I go through these. Doesn't matter how far it is down. Whenever I get to that next 9, I'm just going to casually toss the cards. There we go. I see it right here. I'm just going to casually just toss them as if like, oh, there was too many in my hand. I'm still looking. And now I find the next 9. I'm going to throw all the cards before that 9 on top there. And now I have this 9. I'm just going to kind of hold that there while I look for the final 9, which happens to be right there. So I'm going to flip that over and put that on the table face down. Put these cards on top of the deck. And then put the rest of these cards with the 9 on top right there. So essentially what I've done now is made my prediction card a 9. I have a 9 on top of the deck. And if I flip the deck over and spelt 9, N-I-N-E, I'd have a 9 and another 9, right? So I just set the deck up right in front of them. No matter what card it is, you can make that happen. So now I'm going to flip the deck over and show them that, look, these cards are mixed up. In fact, I'm going to deal them on the table, and I want you to just say stop whenever you want. Now, I make sure as I'm saying that I get past the 9s. I don't want them to stop me before I get to them. So I'll throw a bunch of cards, and I'll just say, look, just say stop whenever you want. And they say stop right there. Doesn't matter how many cards go after that, as long as the 9s are at the bottom, because you already counted them there. Now you flip this packet upside down. You'll take this, square them up, and you put it face down. Now you can ask them which pile they want to use. It doesn't matter which one they use, because you're going to really use both of them anyway. So in the trick, I pick this pile, and I flip the top card over. So let's say this time they pick this pile. They want to use this one. I'd say, okay, great. I'm going to use this pile to spell a card. Not just any random card. I'm going to pick whatever card's on the top of this pile. So either way, you're going to look at the card on top of this one and spell it here. And depending on which one they pick, that's how you say it. So I pick this up. I'd say, all right, I'm going to spell a card. Let's see what's on the top of this deck. So it's a 9. All right, so I'm going to spell 9. N-I-N-E. Now you take this entire packet and you put it down. The trick is done. But pause here for a second and recap what's happened, right? Cards are completely shuffled. I picked a random card as a prediction. I started dealing cards. You saw they were all mixed up. You told me when to stop. I stopped exactly when you said to. You picked the pile, right? We used the pile you told me to pick from, right? We had a 9 in this. We counted N-I-N-E. We spelled it out. So if this is a 9, that's incredible. And of course it is. And then I'd say, wait, if that's not just random, I predicted it. You flip this one up. Now I would say pause. Don't just flip this one over. Just pause for a minute. They're going to be blown away by this. You're going to get a big reaction. And then once things die down, you can say, in fact, it'd be really cool if there was another 9 here. And you flip this one over. You're done. Walk away. You've blown them away.